going to go ahead and continue our media availabilities for tonight. We're now joined by our race winner, Chase Briscoe. Chase, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Congrats on the race and headed to championship for what was the race like? Are you excited to go to Phoenix?
The race was extremely stressful. I think I told MRN, like, I don't have very much hair in the first place, but what I had left was going to be gray. It's a miserable feeling, trying to battle, for points and just trying to not get caught up in a wreck. And, for us to, just have the day that we had. Obviously, I kind of shot ourselves in the foot there at the beginning and, got the speeding penalty, but it just so happened to work out where, we didn't really lose a lot of points to other guys. And then there at the end, I was kind of sick when the caution came out because I felt like I was going to at least finish in the top 5 and be okay points-wise. And then, that last restart was truthfully just trying to push Bubba to the win. I did not want, William to win. If Larson won, that was kind of best-case scenario out of playoff guys, but it was really just trying to push Bubba to the win. I felt like that was going to be the best thing for me. And I don't know really what happened there on the bottom lane, but was able to kind of push Bubba out far enough, and then was able to make a move, and the 54 came with me. And Ty was the whole reason I won the race. He was just extremely committed to me, from the get-go, and really did a good job of keeping me up tight to Bubba so I could keep pushing him along. And then when I made a move, Ty went with me and was just really selfless in the fact of he's going for his first win and could have easily tried to make a move or did something different, and he pushed me to the win. So just an incredible team effort, and just can't thank Ty enough.
Awesome. We'll go ahead and open it up for questions. If you have one, we will get a mic over to you. We'll start here with Matt, and then go to Steve, then to Bob.
Matt Weaver, motorsport.com. I'm kind of taken back to your introductory press conference last year with JGR. And you said something along the lines of that if you don't win and perform at a championship level, it's basically time to go do something else because at this team you're expected to be here. With that even being said, are you surprised to be racing for a championship in year one?
Not surprised. I knew it was capable of happening. I knew that all the pieces were going to be there. It was just a matter if I could go and perform, and I felt like I feel like I was capable of doing it, but you don't know until you go and do it. And I would be lying if I said the first kind of couple months of the year I was like, man, this is way harder than I thought it was going to be. And then was able to kind of start getting some momentum rolling. And then once we honestly won Pocono, I felt like just the weight of the world was off my shoulders, and everything just started honestly feeling very similar to 2020 in Xfinity, and even like my ARCA season where I just go to the racetrack and I'm just fast. Like I'm not doing anything different. Just I finally could kind of know what I needed out of the car. But I definitely felt like we were capable of this. But it's rewarding now that it's actually been done, and satisfying for sure. But I'd be lying if I said I didn't feel like we were capable of doing it. And that's why I said even what I said at the beginning of the year, if I don't go win, I'm never going to get hired again because the expectation is you have to go to JGR and win. And if you can't win in a JGR car, why would anybody hire you for another team? So, glad that, I've been able to, I feel like, prove my worth. And, to be in the championship four is, a huge accomplishment in itself. Obviously we want to go and win the championship, but to, be one of those elite guys is a pretty special feeling.
From a mental preparation standpoint, is it good to have the week off to kind of mentally reset, or do you kind of wish, the intensity would have just carried from week to week?
No, I'm totally fine with not being stressed out next week. I've had my share of stress after today, so I'm good on that, and will be, I think, an advantage for us. Just being able to, this week we were going to run Monday and Wednesday sim for Martinsville, and I'm sure we'll do a little bit just because we still want to go there and run good. But, it'll be full focus on Phoenix and, even just our car. We can really, just put a ton of detail into it. So, I definitely think that obviously it'll be an advantage for myself just to, not be stressed out. But even for our team, it'll be a big advantage. Thanks.
We'll go to Steve, then to Bob, then to Tracy.
Steve Schweitzer with Alaska Press. Chase, Coach was in here just a few minutes ago and talked about the challenges of dealing with 3 individual race teams during the playoffs here and trying to keep everybody, focused and moving forward in the right direction. You talked about the stress and anxiety that, this race created. Let's jump ahead a week and say Christopher Bell gets his job done next week, okay, and you've got three JGR cars in the final. What kind of dynamics is that going to present for individual drivers as if the three of you are racing each other for a NASCAR championship?
Yeah, I mean, truthfully, I hope that happens. It'd be tough because I feel like they're my biggest competition for it. But honestly, I don't think it's any different because I've learned, it took me a couple months to kind of learn this, but like at JGR, you compete for wins against your teammates all the time. So it's not really like it's uncharted territory for us. Obviously there's more on the line when you're racing for a championship, but yeah, honestly, if I'm going to go against anybody, I hope it is them because I feel like, at the end of the day, if one of us can't win, we hope the other guy wins, right? And it would just be a huge thing for our company to, have a 3 and 4 shot. And, I feel really good about Christopher going to Martinsville too. So, yeah, hopefully, he can get in. And, hopefully all, 3 of us can be going for it. And that'd be a pretty special thing. Hopefully we just don't screw it up like the end of Kansas and at least one of us gets it.
We'll go to Bob, then Tracy, then Keegan, then Roy.
Bob Parkers, Fox Sports. You talk often about performing under pressure. How much pressure has the round of 8 been compared to the other times when you've had to perform under pressure?
It honestly has felt so different this time around. I've kind of talked about it a little bit throughout the playoffs of where I haven't worried about the playoffs really at all. Today was the first day I feel like all year long or all playoffs long where, especially that first stage when I got the speeding penalty, I was so focused on where the other guys were at the end of that stage. And outside of that, I've really not worried about points one time. I don't know. It's just felt different, I feel like, because this time I don't have to do anything special. In the past, I felt like I had to do something extraordinary just to even have a shot to go to the round of 4. Where here, I felt like if I just did my job and did nothing extra, I would at least have a shot at making it. This whole playoffs just felt way different. I'm definitely curious to see how the Final Four feels because I've not been in that position before and just the weight of it. But, yeah, I'm really excited to, at least just have that opportunity.
And the other 7 drivers have all been to the championship 4. Does that make the fact that you were able to make it any more satisfying?
Yeah, I mean, look, when you get to the championship 4, there's no fluking your way there. But certainly when you look at the 8 guys that are just in this round in general, I mean, I feel like is the 8 strongest drivers and teams in our sport. So just to be even associated with, those guys is an honor for me and a privilege. So, yeah, it's pretty cool. Definitely whoever wins this championship is going to be more than deserving. And, hopefully it's obviously me. But regardless, just to even be, associated with the other 7 guys, it means a lot to me just from what kind of my Cup career has, started like.
We're going to go to Tracy, then Keegan, then Roy.
Hi, I'm Tracy with Novel Photos. So just now, or well, not just now, earlier you said that you were really stressed during this race. But after the race, you said that you felt a peace you haven't felt. And you kind of answered it just in that last question. But you also talked about your faith. How did that play into it? And kind of just tell me more about that.
Yeah, it was, truthfully, every time I've ever ran a superspeedway race at any level, I have just been, stressed in a sense of just crashing more than anything. For whatever reason, I don't want to crash. It hurts. But, I just have this, I don't enjoy superspeedway racing, truthfully, and I'm just stressed from what can happen. It's definitely changed once I had kids. I don't want to get hurt or something for them. But today, and even all week, I've had just such a piece of whatever happens, happens. God's going to use it for His glory, whether I win or run 38th. And, that was my prayer all throughout this week. And even today, I was like, let me, whatever your plan is, let me just be a vessel for that, whether that's winning or running 38th or whatever it may be. And, I just had such a peace with, whatever happened. Obviously, personally, I didn't want to wreck, but if that was whatever the plan was and somehow to use it for Him, then I was okay with that. And, it was definitely just a peace and a calmness I've had all day. And even, leading the pack, normally I would be like a nervous wreck of, just feel the emotions, and I just had a total peace the whole time. It was definitely unique in that sense.
We're going to go to Keegan, then to Roy, then to Greg.
Keegan Miller, Auburn University. Chase, you mentioned you had a big swing of confidence and mental shift recently. Do you think that confidence translated behind the wheel at a track like Talladega? And where's your confidence now?
Yeah, I mean, you have to be confident, here especially, just, with the moves you make. You can't second guess yourself, and you just have to do what comes natural. And, what I was just talking about, like just having that peace with everything. Normally I do kind of second guess stuff, I feel like, at super speedways, and, should I throw the block or should I make this move? And I second guess, and I just don't, have a peace with whatever the outcome's going to be. And today I did. And, that was arguably probably the most aggressive I've probably looked from outside, just that I've ever probably ran in the Cup Series. So, yeah, I don't know. It was definitely just a unique day from that sense. But, yeah, the confidence stuff, and just having, I think, truthfully, that peace that I was talking about with whatever the result may be, was a lot of the reason I was able to look confident in the moves I was making.
We'll come down here to Roy.
Thank you very much. Yeah, Chase, Roy, Skyview Sports. You've been talking a lot about that piece, and I guess when it translates, if you guys do get 3 drivers to Phoenix, what will be the big storyline? I mean, there's with you, there's so many storylines with this team. Historic with Denny, and transformation with you and Christopher. I mean, you guys have won 13 times in 34 races this year. I mean, there's so many things to take away from your racing. What's the number one thing? I mean, for guys like us that are going to ask you questions, I mean, it's just phenomenal what you guys have done.
I think, how do we not screw it up? We've been arguably the best team all year long, and just, especially if we have 3 shots at it, you would hope that at least one of us gets it. And, yeah, there's a lot of storylines. Obviously, myself being the first time, everybody knows the storyline with Denny and Christopher, a guy that's been there so many times. And then whoever that 4th guy may be, they're going to have a storyline too. But, yeah, I think if, 3 JGR cars get in there, it's just how do we execute, not screw it up. Truthfully, if we have a 75% chance of going there and winning, like, one of us needs to win it. And, we won there earlier in the year as a company. So, yeah, I think that would be the biggest thing, is just how do we put it all together and really put a bow on what of a good season that we've all had. Yeah.
We're going to go to Greg, then Kelly, then Dustin, then Blake.
Hey, pal, congrats. Happy for you.
Thank you.
You're going to go to Phoenix. Maybe you haven't had time to process this. You're going to go to Phoenix a year removed from probably one of the lowest of lows, right? You were racing for your childhood hero who had to close his doors, and now you're going to go back there with a chance for a championship in one of NASCAR's top teams. Have you had a chance to maybe think about that emotion? And a follow-up when you answer that.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be unique. I was emotional for both. Last year, I remember sitting on the grid after we fired engines and just crying, just for what, my whole childhood, right? I idolized Tony, and, he was my hero. And then, just the friendships and the relationships that I built with all the 14 guys. We still have a group chat to this day and talk almost every day. And, just knowing that chapter of my life was ending, and, not knowing what the JGR chapter was really going to look like. Obviously, I've loved being here, but you never know going to a new place. I'd been at SHR for, I want to say, 8 years. And, yeah, to be able to go back to Phoenix, I went there a couple weeks ago for some media stuff, and I stood on the front straightaway. I hadn't done that since I won there, and I kind of thought about how that day felt and how winning my first Cup race, and I did think about it for a second. I was like, next time you might stand here, you might be a champion, and it's definitely going to be a special feeling. I'm excited to go to Phoenix. It's a place I feel good about, and yeah, I'm sure it'll be emotional. Just having my family there and all those things will be emotional. I'm emotional in general. So yeah, it'll be a special day regardless.
I'll look forward to being there and following that journey. But do you think now with this win you could get Coach or maybe Johnny Morris to pay the rest of your bail Wednesday for the job?
Yeah, I do need to ask him that. I also need to see if one of them will fly my whole family to Phoenix, because me and Marissa were already talking about how chaotic that's going to be, flying commercial with 3 toddlers. So maybe I can get lucky and see if they're let me go on one of their planes.
I think someone got you a new 10-year contract earlier.
Oh, yeah? Oh, perfect.
James objected because he wants to keep you hungry and on the
Oh gosh.
But Joe said you can have anything you want. So
Oh,
ask
I
for
better
that
go.
plane ride.
Let me call him real quick.
Ask for that plane ride.
We'll go to Kelly, then to Dustin, and then to Dustin, then to Blake.
Kelly Crandall, Racer.com. Chase, the winning move. Can you walk us through that? Because you've made it a point. You've never won on a super speedway. You've come to these races, right, with just things in the back of your mind. So as that unfolds over the last couple laps, and you said earlier you're committed to pushing Bubba, what did you see? What did you feel? I guess what was the confidence that you could make that move?
Yeah, I had, my full intention was to push Bubba to the win. You never know how it's going to play out at the end, but that was my full commitment, was just push Bubba as hard as I could. And I really needed a non-playoff guy to win to keep me, above the cut line. And yeah, so I was pushing him, and I don't know what happened to the bottom, but we cleared the bottom lane there for whatever reason down the back straightaway. And I told Drew, my spotter, whenever we had chose for the restart, Ty picked behind me. I said, please just tell him to stick with me wherever I go. And I told him too, make sure that he just knows I'm pushing Bubba. And so we cleared that bottom lane, and I kind of shoved Bubba out a little bit, and it just kind of opened up. And I was surprised that Bubba didn't cover going to the left. And I just kind of timed it right to where right when I made the move, Ty was also clear on the bottom. So I knew I could take that help with me. And truthfully, when I made the move too, I didn't know if I was necessarily going to win the race, but I felt like at least if I was leading the lane on the bottom, I was probably at least going to run top 5, and that was going to be okay if Bubba won. And then, I cleared Bubba, and Ty just kept shoving me. And, I couldn't believe I won a super speedway race. Boswell stopped me even there on pit road, and I said, I'm speechless. I won a super speedway race because it was such a big thing for us on the 14 car, how bad I was at him. So, it's pretty cool just to, finally win a super speedway race. It was kind of the last style of track in my career I've not been able to win on. So that was just a huge checklist there in itself.
Larson ran out of gas in the bottom, and the bottom lost their momentum.
Okay. I knew he was close on fuel, but I didn't know that's what happened.
We'll go to Dustin, then to Blake, and then to Holly.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. You've talked about feeling like you need to prove yourself. What do you feel like you still need to prove after a day like today, and that you are now going to the championship race?
I still want to prove to myself that I can do it. When I moved to North Carolina and, slept on a couch for 3.5 years and, was just scrapping money together just to, be able to pay Ross $50 of rent. I was doing it in the hopes of one day hopefully being a champion. And, truthfully, I feel like I've moved the goalpost as I've kind of went throughout my career. When I got to Cup, truthfully, that was all I wanted to do. I just wanted to make it to the Cup Series. It was the same when I got to the Truck Series or Xfinity Series. Then, you win a race, and then you move the goalpost more. And, now, I've kind of talked about it, the last couple months where this is like the first time in my life I've been like, man, you could actually win the Cup Series championship. Where in the past, I didn't really believe it just because of the uphill battle we were fighting. But now, I have every opportunity in the world to go do it. So it just has felt different from that standpoint. And, I do want to prove it to myself. I feel like I am more than capable of doing it when I do my job. And I have an incredible opportunity that, hundreds of thousands of race car drivers would kill to be in. So just need to try to make the most of it.
What would it mean to have that champion thing on your champion designation on your uniform next year?
Yeah, it would. I talked about it after the Southern 500, just seeing the names and the faces, on that trophy. It's like, man, I don't belong to be on this thing. And then if you looked at the championship one, it's crazy to think that my name could even relatively be close to those guys. So yeah, it would be cool. As a kid, you dream of that moment, and to be this close now to it, it'd be devastating if it doesn't work out. But in the big scheme of things, there's way more to life too than winning a championship, and that's, I think, the one thing that I've always tried to keep in perspective. If we're on this world for a very short amount of time, and me winning championships isn't the biggest difference maker in it where I'm spending eternity. So just trying to keep that in perspective no matter what the results may be. But I'm certainly still going to give it my 110% best effort. Yeah.
We'll go to Dustin.
Dustin Albino, Chase, congrats on the win. A lot of the drivers, all the drivers below the cut line are in must-win mode next week. So how glued in will you be to what they're doing, and who could advance?
Yeah, I mean, I'll definitely, be paying attention, right? Just, truthfully, I'll be rooting that a Penske car doesn't win. I think all of us that are in the finals will be doing that. But, yeah, it's going to be a dogfight, truthfully. And that's, I even talked about it, I think, pre-race with Dylan on TV of, like just trying to not be on the cut line. Leaving this race was such a big thing because when you look at the 8 guys in the field, all those guys are going to run in the top 8 probably all day long at Martinsville. Like, it is the who's who of that run up front at Martinsville, and even just the teams that run up front at Martinsville. So, yeah, as a fan, it's going to be exciting to watch. I'm glad that I don't have to go there necessarily and perform to the absolute best and then still potentially not be enough. It'll be nice just to go there and keep the intensity up, but certainly not be so stressed out of, man, I have to get this one spot for 6th place or whatever it may be, and just kind of be a race fan in a sense. Yeah.
We're going to go to Blake, then Holly, then Dominic, and then we're going to wrap with Lee.
Blake Smith, WVGS Radio. Chase, you kind of hit on it on the last question there. Who is the driver you would most like to see as that 4th driver at Phoenix, and who is the driver you would hate to see, the 4th driver heading into the final race?
I mean, honestly, like, it doesn't matter who you put in there. They're going to be a super tough competitor. So, yeah, it honestly doesn't make a difference. All those guys can go to Phoenix and win. I think I'd be lying, right, if we all see it, 3 years in a row that the Penske cars have been unbelievable at Phoenix. So, yeah, I mean, personally, I would love to not see a Penske car get in there, but it doesn't matter if it's a Penske car, another Hinder car, whoever it is. I mean, they're going to be super, super hard to beat. And, all 3 organizations that are left are the 3 elite teams. So you're going to be, fighting hard for it no matter who it is.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
We'll go to Holly, then to Dominic, then to Lee.
Congratulations, Chase.
Thank you.
Holly Kane with the NASCAR Wire Service. Potentially, you're going to have 2 teammates in there, so you could have 3 of the 4 all be JGR. How is it you have to change things because at that point you want to beat them, you don't want to help them? I mean, is that a real mind shift that you can anticipate having to make?
I don't think it's really a mind shift. Truthfully, more often than not, I know that to beat them for a win of a race, I'm probably going to be going up against my teammates, so that doesn't really change. If I can't win, like, yeah, I hope that one of them win. I even told Marissa that the other day. I was like, I'd love to obviously win the championship, but if I can't win, I hope it is one of my teammates. Like, I genuinely want that for them, whether it's, Denny and everything that he's kind of gone through and going through right now, or, Christopher, me and him have been, friends since we were 11, 12 years old. Like, I know how much he wants it too. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, selfishly, I want to win it, but if not, I genuinely do hope that, one of my teammates do win it.
We'll go to Dominic, then to Lee.
Dominic Otto going with the racing experts. So you mentioned, of course, this being your first Super Speedway win. What has it taken to become better at Super Speedway racing? Or do you always feel like that skill set was there and we're just seeing it more this year?
I've kind of went through different phases of Super Speedway racing. When I first started in, the ARCA series and all that, I was just trying not to crash. And I would just kind of ride around and hope that when they crashed, I missed it. And wherever I finished, I finished. And then I got to the Xfinity series and talked to Dale Jr. and he was like, man, you just got to be the most aggressive guy on the racetrack. And I went through a phase there where I was extremely aggressive and probably too aggressive at times. And then I've kind of went back to being not aggressive enough and then kind of morphed it into kind of a hybrid of kind of where I'm at now. And, yeah, I thought today was the best super speedway race I've ran, outside of the speeding penalty. But just putting my car in places and, making the right decisions, and a lot of that comes down to just the team and their prep work and, my spotter Drew and just even the circumstances kind of playing out at the right time. But yeah, I think, you have to be aggressive to win these races. I mean, there's a reason the same guys are typically up front. It's because they put themselves there. And, if you're just riding around, you might get lucky 1 out of 100, but the guys that are consistently up front are typically the most aggressive guys. It's just a matter of that fine line of, too aggressive and not aggressive enough.
And when you look back on this win at whatever point in time, what's going to stick out the most to you? What are you going to remember most about it?
Honestly, the stage win. I was just pumped that I won a stage at Super Speedway because of how big of a struggle it had been. I felt like that was a win in itself. And yeah, like at the end, I had fully committed to just pushing Bubba to the win, and I was okay with that because I thought that was what was best for me. But yeah, the biggest takeaway is honestly that end of the stage win. I thought that was the best I've done, controlling the lead. A lot of the time I've been able to lead laps at super speedways, but I've made myself get shuffled out and just don't do a good job of managing the gap and whatnot. And I thought at the end of that stage, that was the best I've ever done before. So yeah, that was honestly probably the biggest takeaway from today. Yeah, thanks.
We'll take one last question from Lee.
Lee Spencer, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio and CatchFence.com. Have you talked to your dad yet?
I have not. I've not talked to them. I'm bummed that they're not here. This is the first race I think I've ever won where nobody's been here. My dad was kind of sick. I was sick, obviously, at the Roval. Everybody heard it. He got what I had, and he was going to come here. They were at my house all week. My mom was on fall break for school, and he was going to drive there, and he decided Thursday that he was just going to go home. So then Marissa and the kids, they were going to come this morning, and the weather didn't look very good, and we didn't want to fly with it being rough, so they decided to stay home. So, yeah, this is the first time I've not had anybody here. So, yeah, I was thinking about, what it was probably like at my house, and my parents watching and my grandparents and obviously Marissa and the kids. And, yeah, I'm excited to talk to them for sure. Yeah, thanks.
All right, Chase. Thanks for your time, and
you guys.
good luck in Phoenix.
Appreciate it.